Hi everyone, Donna here. I am the owner here at Bookkeeping Made Simple. I am kind of continuing the video that I put up yesterday where I talk about the quadrant system. Okay. So in the quadrant system, really should have, aha, this will work. I have a plethora, sorry folks, of whiteboards, and they come in handy. So we have the quadrant system, and this is really what I use to try to plan out my time. And the reason I do this is because I have clients and bookkeepers all the time saying, oh, I've got to talk to you and it's urgent. The problem with that is it's impossible. It is physically impossible. It is against the laws of physics. It's against everything I can think of to treat everything as if it's as urgent and important as everybody else seems to think it is. So I use a quadrant system. Now this is from Steven Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And I have, my clients are important, but it's not always urgent. I try to make sure I get all of my emails answered by the end of the day every day. But I'm probably not going to be sitting on an email thread for 50 minutes, checking my email obsessively. I check my email twice a day. That's one of those things that people think is important and urgent, and it's not always, okay? So we have 4 quadrants. The first one, you know what, this is probably going to be mirrored, is important and urgent. Okay, this is things like your tax return. Okay, I'm uploading this on Friday, May 14th. Monday is tax day. If you haven't done your taxes and you haven't filed an extension, this is now urgent and important. You are looking at penalties and interest at this point, and that is not something you want the IRS assessing. Also, urgent and important would be a court date. If you miss a court date, you go to jail. So also urgent and important would be finding out that you need to lose 100 pounds or you're going to die. Okay, that's something that was important, but it wasn't urgent before, and now it's urgent. Okay, so these are things that have probably been put off. They're important things that you put off till the very, very last minute. This is where procrastination gets you. Okay, the next one is important. Important and not urgent. Okay, and hopefully this isn't mirrored around so you can actually see what's on the board. Important but not urgent are things like creating habits. Fitness is important but not urgent. Calling your parents is important, but it's not urgent. It's important to nurture relationships, but it's very seldom urgent. A lot of times, especially with parents, we forget that while we're getting older, so are they. I remember several years ago, I was in my 30s, and I had my dad pick me up somewhere, and he parked his car and he got out and the light was behind him, so I didn't see his face. And I was like, oh wow, who's that old man? He looks kind of like my dad. Oh, it's Dad. When did he get old? Because my vision of my dad is he's 40 years old. He's just starting to, he is bald as the billiard now. He's just starting to lose his hair. He's youthful. He goes out and he runs and he outruns people half his age. He's vibrant. That's my vision of my dad. My vision of my dad is him at about my boyfriend's age. It's not a man in his 60s or 70s. He turns 82 next week. That's not how I vision my dad. I see him as this young man. He was, let's see, my mom was 24. My dad was almost 30 when I was born. So this is how I see him. I see him as a man in his 40s, in the prime of his life. And so when I see him now, I'm like, Dad, when did you get old? So, it's important to nurture those relationships. It's important to nurture relationships with siblings and friends. And I love it when my brother calls and just says, I just wanted you to know that I'm taking these courses. I just wanted you to know that this little thing happened in my life. I love that. I forget to do it. And so I really, really love it when my siblings call me and they say, this thing happened and I wanted you to know. And sometimes those things are good things and sometimes they are less than desirable, but I appreciate them telling me. These are the things that make your life richer. If they're important but not urgent, these are the things that make your life richer if you follow through with them. And so you should be working in this quadrant the most. The next one is, quadrant 3, is urgent but not important, okay? Urgent but not important is getting phone calls from people you may not want to talk to. Urgent but not important is, oh, by the way, I wanted to go back a little bit. Important and urgent does not have to be the things that you postponed. It typically is, but important and urgent is things like getting a phone call saying your son broke his arm. That's not something you've postponed. It's just something that came up. Life happens. So, and that has happened to me. It's urgent, it's important. I have to deal with this right now. It is an emergency. Jared broke his arm several years ago playing soccer. And I remember just thinking, this never happens to my kids. So it was, I had to go because I wasn't going to be telling this boy, oh, well, that can wait. It can't wait. It can't wait. Life happens. So that is something that is urgent and important, and it's not the result of procrastination. Another one would be, I always hate talking about crisis health issues. If a family member calls and says they're contemplating suicide. I come from an Army family. That's important and urgent. You need to drop everything right then. And by the way, if you're a friend of mine and you call me and you say that, I'm dropping everything. Everything. Another example would be just these things that just happen. It's not something that's planned, but it's vital. It is absolutely vital. Usually it's emergent, acute health issues, like a broken bone, like a friend that calls and says that they need you, like a lot of things, like a car wreck. Also something I've dealt with. I had about a few years ago, both of my daughters were involved in a terrible wreck, and I didn't realize that they were together until I got the call from my older daughter saying, "Mom, come quick." They weren't hurt. The car was totaled, but it was an emotional day because I was like, she said, "Come quick, I've been in a wreck." And I said, "Okay, where are you?" And she goes, "And Mercedes is with me." And I went, oh, just kind of, one was bad enough, but both of them, I only have 2 girls. So it was an emotional day. They were both fine, by the way. Neither one of them were seriously hurt. And that was a huge blessing, thank goodness, for modern cars with all of their safety features. Those are things that are important and urgent, and you know when they are, and you know when it's because you postponed crap or when it's just life happens, and sometimes life just happens. So important but not urgent are the things that create the richness in your life. It is the fitness, it is the hikes, it is the time with your family, it is the soccer games, it is the Boy Scout courts of honor, it is being there for your kids, it is recognizing that even though it feels like their childhood takes forever, 18 years goes by in the blink of an eye. I mentioned yesterday, my younger daughter, I have 2 kids left at home. I have 5 kids. The first 3 are all adults. And so one of my oldest daughter, my daughter, lives down in southeastern Utah. So she's not too far. My 2 older boys live in eastern Tennessee. And my 2 youngest live with me. Well, my younger daughter got an apartment and she's moving this weekend. And my son got a scholarship to the U, and so he will be moving out by the end of the summer. And these are wonderful, positive changes. But it's a little they're wonderful, positive changes. It's just a lot to do with in a couple of months. So it's a little bit close to my heart that I remember when these kids were born, and they went from being the size of a loaf of bread to bigger than me. And it just feels like it was just no time at all. You don't realize that when you're going through it, parents. But when they leave the nest, you go, where did the time go? I wish I'd taken more pictures. So those are the things that you really need to focus your time on. If it's important, that should be your focus. Okay. Now we want to take the urgent stuff off of your plate. That's our goal as a business, and it's my goal as a person. I don't like urgency. I like for things to flow gently, and I really, really despise it because it just is impossible. When everybody thinks everything is both important and urgent all of the time, that leads to burnout. It leads to burnout for me, for my bookkeepers, for my clients. So I try to really make sure that we take care of the important things before they become urgent. So that's why we do the weekly bookkeeping. That's why we make sure we stay on top of reconciliation. That's why we talk a lot to our clients. That's why we do all these things, is to make sure that we stay in the important quadrant and it never goes over to urgent and important. We don't like that because then if we have a lot of clients in that urgent and important quadrant, we're going to be burnt out and we're not doing a good job. Then there's the not important but urgent, and that is what is not important but urgent. It may be running errands. I was going to say Facebook, but that's neither important nor urgent, but it can feel like it's urgent. We get that hit of dopamine when we surf Facebook. I have been trying to stay off of social media other than for business purposes as much as possible because it is a tremendous time suck. I will occasionally put a YouTube video on, but then it'll be something that I can just listen to, not so much something I have to watch. And I keep the watching TV down to just minimum. But if it's not important, but it feels urgent, it's not important. I mean, why are you doing it? Urgent, but I forgot the examples they used in the book now. But it could be the phone call from the solicitor that you answered because the phone rang, which made it urgent. And then you realize it's not important. It's not even worth my time. And the best thing to do then is just to hang up. I don't take those calls. This, by the way, is why I separated my work and my personal phone numbers, and is so that I could have control over who has access to me. So if my family members and my close friends have my personal number, and everybody else, if you're a client, you have my work number. And I answer that work number from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Or I make sure someone answers it. If I know I'm going to be out of the office, I will arrange for my calls to be forwarded to Harley, and then she will relay information to me if I need it, and then I can decide if I need to call them back. So there's a lot of things that it feels like it's urgent. It's really not important. And you have to kind of decide what that is. Is it really important? Is it going to move your business forward? Is it going to move your life forward? Is it going to bring richness and joy and blessings to your life? Is it going to make your life better in any way? If no, it's really not important. Family relationships are important, but they're not always urgent. In fact, they're very frequently not urgent until you get an unpleasant phone call. And then there's the not important, not urgent. Social media, I'm looking at you. You are not important. You're not urgent. I usually surf them maybe for an hour, it usually does end up being about an hour because it's a time suck in the mornings. And I'd really try not to, because it really destroys my peace of mind for the day. And I'll glance through it in the evening and just see, what my friends have done. I try to, anything Facebook thinks I really need to look at, I don't look at. And the reason is I have an entirely different mindset than they do. So none of the stuff that they think is important is things that I think is important. But there's a few people that I follow on social media that I really enjoy reading their tweets and their Facebook posts, because they bring positivity into my life, and I ignore everything else. And I really limit the amount of time that I spend on social media. A lot of times I have found myself going without my phone because I'm just not hooked to it. And I'm thankful for that. So those are the 4 quadrants that I use when I'm trying to determine how much time and how much effort to give something in my day. Most of my stuff, I try to keep it in the the important but not urgent quadrant. So that's making these videos. If I already know that I'm going to be out of town, if I already know that I am going to have trouble getting to my computer, or if I'm going to have bad lighting, or if I know that I'm going to be driving for a day, I'll go ahead and make them ahead of time. But I want to make sure one is uploaded every single day, 5 days a week, every work day. By the way, urgent but not important. Let's go back to work on that. The COVID-19 situation has accelerated the work from home phenomenon. I am a huge proponent of work from home. I have worked from home for about 20 years. I adore it. I think it's been the best thing to happen to me and my family, but I am also the kind of person that works well in a solitary environment. I'm the kind of person that I have a lot of control over my environment, and I've taught my kids from the time they were tiny when they can interrupt me and when they can't. I've always had kind of a dedicated space. Even if it was a corner of my dining room, that was my workspace, and it looked like a workspace. There wasn't any question that that's what that was. I've always taken it very, very seriously, because it was a job. It was a real job. And so I've always loved to work from home. Now, a lot of people don't like to work from home, and that's fine. A lot of people are more extroverted. It's actually the introverts that have really struggled with the shutdowns, because going to an office requires us to be more outgoing than we would normally. I am kind of an extroverted introvert, I guess, or an introverted extrovert. I'm not sure which, but I do very well with people. I'm very social, but at the same time, I recharge my batteries by being alone. So I am an extroverted introvert. So when you work from home, now you have to factor in home chores, okay? I am a huge fan of using the Pomodoro method to manage my time at home. And it's useful in the office too, but at home it's been absolutely wonderful because I work for 25 minutes, head down, focused on work, and then my timer goes off and I set another timer, I get up and I take care of housework for 5 minutes. And by doing that every day, I'm actually able to maintain a pretty clean house. It'll probably get easier as the kids move out. So it's going to be a little different. If there's no one here to mess anything up, there's no housework to be done. So in housework, I feel like is not especially urgent. And it's lower on the list of importance than some of the other things. But the problem with the work from home thing is that employers have a tendency to expect their employees to be available 24/7. And that was happening before 2020. I was like really just having to put my foot down because people would try to call me on my, this is why I set up a separate phone system. They were calling me on my personal cell phone. Clients were at 11 o'clock at night and expecting me to answer and got very upset when I didn't. And so I said, no. We have office hours. And the reason we have office hours is that at the time my kids were school age. I have a family. You can't call me at 11 o'clock at night, expect me to be able to answer the phone. I grew up in the era of landlines when the phone was tied to the wall. You didn't call in, and no, by the way, I grew up before caller ID. You didn't call anybody before 9 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Got a hair stuck somewhere. I'm shedding my winter coat. And so I'm like feeling like there's hairs coming out of my hair all the time. And because they're long, they just kind of get stuck to everything. I grew up in the era of no caller ID. You had to actually answer the phone to find out who was on the other end. That was fun. So when you called your boyfriend, you might get their mom because the whole family shared a phone. So you never called anyone before 9 o'clock in the morning because it would ring through the whole house and it could wake people up if they were sleeping. It just was not heard of. You could call a business before 9 a.m. if you looked and you saw what their office hours were. But if you called before 9, odds were pretty good. Nobody was in the office and they probably didn't have an answering machine because that wasn't a thing at the time. And answering machines didn't really come into play until the 90s. This is a problem with the hair. And so you could call, but probably wouldn't get anyone. And you never, ever, ever, ever called a home after 9 p.m. And you never called. I mean, we had friends who were doctors, we had friends who were lawyers, and we had friends who were hoteliers. I babysat for Debbie Harrison, who is, I don't know if she still is, head of Marriott, little hotel chain you might never have heard of. So we knew some high earners. We had friends who were bankers. You didn't call them at home about work ever, unless you were their boss. You know, if it was set up that way, you could, I mean, if it was a doctor and he had an on-call time, you could call them, or you didn't call them, you called and their answering service called them. They made the decision. There was none of this calling at 2 in the morning or calling at 11 at night or sending an email at 4 a.m. and expecting an immediate response. That is just insanity. People need time off. That is urgent and important, even if they don't realize it. People need time off. They need breaks. They need vacation. They need to be able to compartmentalize their life a little bit better. Now, the younger generation may disagree with me, but I think it is just so much easier to be able to say, I work from 9 to 5. If you want to reach me about business matters, call me from 9 to 5. That's a whole 8 hours. It's a reasonable length of time. The rest of the time, I am with my family. I am recreating. I am with my friends. That's already planned. I am taking care of my yard work. I am taking care of these other things that I need to take care of to take care of me. So I have 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. set aside for business. Now, does that mean I only do books from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.? No, it does not. There have been times when I have gotten up at 3 in the morning and couldn't go back to sleep, and I sat down and I said, okay, I'm going to work for a little bit. But I really prefer to keep my work hours 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. because then when 5 comes, I leave my office, I shut the door, I turn off all my notifications on my phone for work, and I say, I'm done. And now I can focus on my family. I can focus on my home. I can focus on my friends. I can take care of myself. That's when I try to make sure that I have time to go swimming and walking and yoga, and time with friends. And I will schedule time with friends during the workday, but it's during the lunch hour. And then I will also kind of warn them, if I get a business call, I have to take it. After 5, I don't take them. And it just seems to work better for me. Now, if someone else, rephrase, I don't see how it could work any differently. I could be badly wrong, but I do not like people having access to me 24/7. I really prefer them to know that this is the time that I have set aside for work. Now, a lot of times I get done with client work earlier. I may decide to go run some errands, but 9 to 5 is when I have set aside for work. After 5 and before 9, I really try not to worry about it because it just drains me. Okay? I don't know how people, the younger generation may come on and they may say, Donna, you're insane. We work 24 hours a day and we like it. It doesn't work for me. The urgency of being expected to be on call around the clock all the time, even doctors don't do that. So I don't ask it of any of my bookkeepers. I do not permit it of my clients. So there are those things. And then, like I said, not urgent, not important is Facebook, looking at you, Twitter. That is the time sucks. That is the things that you do. And you can do things that are not urgent, not important. You can sit down and binge watch your favorite show. Sometimes those things are very relaxing. Sometimes it helps you turn your brain off at the end of the day, but it's not urgent and it's not important and it's not something that really should even be on your schedule. Those are things to take care of or to do after everything else is done. So by way of kind of differentiating it, by the way, I would view going to a movie as part of a date night, which, by the way, if you're in a relationship, you should have a date night every week. Date night is important, and you can go to a movie as a part of that. date night is important, and maybe you decide to binge watch Netflix as part of that. That makes it, the binge watching Netflix is not important and it's not urgent. And you can do that anytime. But the date night is important, and it's important. It's not urgent, but it is important. You don't find out how important it is till you go through a divorce. Or worse. So, you know, you can use some of these not important, not urgent things and say, you know what? Going to Lagoon is not urgent and it's not important, but we're going to do that on Saturday for our date night. You know, we're in Utah where we have Lagoon close by. If you're in California, you may say, Knott's Berry Farm is not important and it's not urgent, but spending time with my kids is. Disneyland is not important, not urgent, but spending time with my kids is. And just so you know, when I took them to Disneyland, and I've only been able to take my kids to Disneyland one time. We stayed for a week and we came back and our faces hurt from smiling so much. The kids would not let go of me, and they were teenagers. Okay, my teenage son was saying, "I don't want to let go of you, Mom. I might lose you." And I was going, "I will find you. You don't have to worry about it. They have a lost parent place, and I know where it is." And so I said, "It's not a problem. You can let go." And he goes, "No, no, Mom, we don't want to lose you." And so there were a lot of making memories is important. Just going to Disneyland to waste a day, is it? Spending time with your loved ones is important. How you spend it is less important. Okay. So I love Disneyland because my kids love it. I love spending time with them, and I love creating memories, and I love having those pictures printed out and being able to see the joy on their faces. And that's important. And it just became urgent because I'll never be able to do that again. They're grown up. So that is the 4 quadrants that I use to plan my days, my weeks, my months. And keep in mind that memories are built on small and simple things. They're not necessarily built on Disneyland trips. They're built on bedtime stories. They're built on hugs and kisses. They're built on little routines, little habits that you have as a family, the things that are important but not urgent. That's what builds your life. It's also what builds your business. So I'm just saying. But the life thing is a little bit close to home right now with the 2 kids moving out within a couple of months. I will be uploading this on Friday, May 14th. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Much love to you. And take care of the important things. If you enjoyed these videos, as always, please like, share, and subscribe. I am still a little bit tender. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is how I grow my channel. I try to talk about things that can be applied to business, and it is always about what's really going on in my life. So folks, I am as authentic as I can possibly be. I may talk about authenticity in another video too. But these are things that are really going on, things that I'm really feeling. So there you go. Feel free to shoot me a comment. Our contact information will be in the description. If you're on YouTube, please hit the notification bell if you subscribe so you can be notified every time we upload a video. I am excited. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Mwah.